Lemonada.
Hey, it's Yvette Nicole Brown. I'm back with the final bonus episode of Squeezed. Throughout this series, I've spoken to so many caregivers across the U.S. I've stepped into their lives and heard about their joys and their challenges. But we need lawmakers to join the conversation, too. So who better to talk to than the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, Xavier Becerra? He works closely with President Biden to streamline and improve healthcare in the U.S. and has specifically focused on caregiving. Phew, imagine trying to unpack all of that. The secretary has called caregiving an urgent public health issue. The 66-year-old California native is the first Latino in history to hold this position. He's also a caregiver for his family. He cared for his father, Manuel, until he passed away on New Year's Day in 2020. And now, he and his 3 siblings care for his 90-year-old mother, Maria. So not only does a secretary bring professional experience to his role, he's California's former attorney general and served in the House of Representatives for 20 years, but it's personal for him too. Throughout our conversation, I asked him one question related to each of the challenges that our guests and so many of you face. But we started by talking about his caregiving journey with his dad.
He is one of my heroes. He is the guy who taught me how to do work in the garden, to build things inside the house, showed me that you can get up in the morning and you can work all day and still come back and spend time with your family. He showed me how to respect people, and he showed me how to never give up. And just a great all-around guy who never had a chance to be a luminary because he didn't get past the 6th grade, had to go work, oldest of 8. So he gave all that energy and opportunity to his kids.
Yeah, my dad was a middle school janitor for 35 years.
There you go.
Same work ethic, same thing. And I care for him now. So I'm in 10 years of caring for him. Can you tell me what it was like when you realized you had to take on the role of being a caregiver for your dad, when you said, okay, this is it. I'm stepping in. This is the moment.
In 2017, I came in as the Attorney General in California, and I was moving back to Sacramento from Los Angeles and D.C. because I was a member of Congress at the time, so going back and forth. You know, it was one of those things where my parents were both still living independently, and they could have continued. And I just said to my parents, I'm going to be in Sacramento, so you all might as well move in with us. My dad had been experiencing congestive heart failure for some time by then. He had a weak heart valve, and so his heart was not functioning fully. And so I just said, it's just easier to have you with us. And we had grown up always having family living with us that was beyond the immediate family, so it was nothing new. And so I was able to convince him to come live with us. My wife was all for it. And so my dad lasted another 4 years. And it wasn't until the last year that we really had to provide him with a lot of care. I mean, he was driving his Ford F-150 manual stick pickup until the year he died. And in fact, he was talking about getting a new one that year. And it wasn't until that last year that we actually had to offer him the hospice care in our home. And on New Year's Day, when he died, he was surrounded by all his family.
I love it. That was why I chose to bring my dad with me, because I want him here. I want to be the caretaker of his memories because he has Alzheimer's. So I feel you at a level you don't even understand. Okay, so...
Can I tell you one quick story?
Absolutely.
My father, because of his weak heart, having to keep salt out of his diet and so forth, you know, it's tough to make them change their diet. Finally, he started changing. And, you know, he'd have his little desires. He'd want to have a little bit of that or a little bit of this. And we'd say, Dad, you know, that's not so good for your heart. His last year, probably his last 6 months, we would always try to, you know, continue to be pretty rigid. No, you're not supposed to have much salt. You can't have a lot of that sugar. He would say, but it's my life. I'm going to die sooner or later. Let me just, go with comfort him with this.
Let me live now. Yeah.
Let me live. And we said, Dad, we want to keep you as long as we can. Well, we went and visited, went to one of his doctor visits, and I pulled the doctor aside and I said, Doc, he's getting a little bit more ornery, and he wants to eat and drink what he wants to eat and drink. And he said to me, you know what, Javier? You let him have whatever he wants.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to accept that because you know what they're telling you.
Yeah.
That he's on his way out. And because you want to hold on to them.
Yeah.
And so we transitioned there. That point where we let him have what he wanted, when he wanted it, felt pretty good because he was happier, but it was kind of sad because we knew what that meant. And But you get to that point where you do everything you can, especially for someone you love, and you realize that you're really doing this for them. So at the end, you can push and push and push, but you got to do it for them. And at some point, you let them make the decision.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? That's the love.
Yeah.
You know, my dad, it's drumsticks. He loves a little ice cream drumstick, and doggone it, he can have as many of them as he wants.
Amen.
3 a day if you want. Yeah.
You tell him we support him in his effort to have that drumstick.
We spoke to a lot of caregivers, and I'd like to ask some questions that highlight their particular hurdles, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So we spoke with a mom named Sade, who is a member of the sandwich generation of caregivers. In the past, she's relied on her employer's paid leave policy to help care for her young daughter and aging parents. Now, she's facing health challenges of her own and will likely have to take more paid leave, which for many is only guaranteed through state laws or their employer. What's being done on a federal level to protect people in situations like hers to make sure they're able to sustain themselves when they can't work?
So the first thing is we're trying to make it affordable to care, period, to be a caregiver, whether it's for a child, whether it's for a loved one who has had a disabling injury, or if it's for someone who's elderly. The care economy counts on us to be there for them. At the end of the day, what we're talking about doing is keeping care as close to home as possible. Because as you are doing, as I did, the closer people are to the place that they know and love and where people love them, the better the care will be. And chances are the longer they're going to stay on this earth with us.
We also spoke with a woman named Maureen who bought long-term life insurance about 30 years ago for her and her husband. Her husband is now in a care home, and this insurance is invaluable. It's covering over 7,000 caregiving costs every month. But this insurance is going to run out in another 3 years, and at that point, Maureen will have to pay out of pocket for her husband's care. What do you suggest someone like her do, or those who can't even afford this long-term life insurance?
So the president has asked us to make further investments in the caregiving economy, making sure that we can have an affordable place, whether it's a nursing home or a daycare center for kids. And what we're trying to do is make it so that it's more affordable. So rather than have to send someone to a nursing home, make it so you can afford to have them stay with you at home. And so we're preparing to put out a rule that would require higher standards so that if you call yourself a nursing home, you have to have a nurse in your facility.
Now, we spoke with a psychologist named Shilpa who runs an alternative schooling and therapy program for teens in New York City. She said there are two groups of people who can access care easily, Medicare recipients and the wealthy. But Shilpa says that the majority of teens in the program have run-of-the-mill commercial health insurance, and their parents experience many issues when trying to get insurance to cover their kids' care. This is a constant battle that is detrimental to their kids' well-being. What are you doing to help teens like them?
The most important thing we can do is make sure that for parents who have insurance is to make sure they have real insurance that will cover the needs of the family, whatever they might be. What we see too often is people are duped into buying insurance policies, which they think are good, but they're really just junk insurance policies. They don't offer you the real services when they're really needed. And probably you're paying a lot less in premiums for that plan. You're thinking, well, I'm getting a really good deal. It's a low-cost plan, and I get coverage. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You get a low-cost plan, but you don't really get the coverage you need. And for your kids, especially on the mental health side, there is a law in place that it says that we must treat mental health on parity with physical health. But too often, insurance companies don't respect that law. And it is tough unless we get information to know who to go after for not following the law. We have an Office of Civil Rights that is there to make sure that people's rights are enforced, that people are not discriminated against. So if you have a child who needs mental health services, but an insurance company denies your claims for services, you should let us know because you may be entitled to get payment for the services you provided or you got for your child where the insurance company did not reimburse you. It's a matter of knowing what your rights are, making sure you fight like the Dickens to get them enforced, and using all of us as your soldiers on your side to help you get that service you need for your loved one.
I want to stick with this topic, paying for care, but let's turn to childcare. We know that average care costs have risen across the country, and childcare alone has increased over 30% since 2019. On the show, we spoke with a single dad of triplets living in New York City, so let that settle in, who spent over $70,000 on childcare in 1 year alone. That's a shocking amount of money. How are you and the administration thinking about the future of childcare affordability?
At this stage, what we're finding is that America, while it's the richest country in the world, is not affordable for families. And you think about it, our economy will be depending on these kids that need care growing up and being ready to learn and ready to lead. And if we can't even provide them with the care that they need so their parents can continue to lead, it's not a very smart investment.
As I mentioned before, I've been a caregiver for my dad who has Alzheimer's for the last 10 years, so this one is very personal for me. Last April, your department was asked to consider something called GUIDE, or the Guiding and Improved Dementia Experience Model. And for those that don't know, GUIDE is a voluntary program that Medicare providers can opt into, and it aims to improve support for people with dementia and their caregivers. One of our guests also provides full-time care for her mom with late-stage Alzheimer's. What steps are being taken to implement that dementia care model?
We're pretty much just launching because remember, it hasn't been until recently that we've really focused a lot of attention on trying to provide dementia care. We've always just thought that it's one of those things where families just have to sort of go with it and go as long as you can. But now we've got some therapies that are seeming to offer a chance for a longer life. And what we want to try to do is make sure that we're providing the cluster of care that an individual would need to be able to make the most of their life. And so what we need to know is what can we do for them to put them in the best physical condition possible? And what can we do for ourselves so we can continue to be strong as we provide the care that they need? Know that there are services there for you. Take full advantage and perhaps the most important thing, demand the care that your loved one deserves, whether it's from the insurance company that might provide some of the healthcare services or whether it's from some of the government programs that are out there. Do not take no for an answer and make sure that you understand what your family member, your loved one is entitled to, because too often a lot of the heartache comes from not understanding what you can provide to your loved one.
I also spoke with a death doula who helps the immigrant community in Minneapolis navigate end-of-life planning and paperwork. Her clients often need help accessing services like translation and legal assistance. How can your department help people who need that support in their caregiving journey?
Yeah, that's where the home care program is really important, because what we have to do is empower that individual who's providing the care with the knowledge of what rights they have. And there are some rights that you have. We have to make sure people know their rights. We have to make sure people understand what services are available.
We also spoke with a mother of 3 kids named Jessica. Jessica decided to become a stay-at-home mom to raise her kids because she was concerned about her children's safety and the quality of the education they would receive in their local schools. And she feels this way partly because of her own experience as an overworked and underpaid daycare employee, and because she lives in Oklahoma, a state with laws that limit the ability to teach about race and racism in school. Jessica is a biracial woman, so this is a big concern of hers. Her husband is now the sole source of support for the family. What is your department doing to support stay-at-home parents with concerns like Jessica?
The difficulty is this. Status quo is tough to change.
Yeah.
And as I said, we're trying to move towards a model of care that starts at home.
Before we go, I want to go back to Secretary Xavier Becerra as a caregiver. What have you learned since starting your caregiving journey?
What I learned really well is that you just have to be patient, and you become like the parent for your parent. And you learn to give to them what they gave to you when you were a baby and as you were growing up. And because I was fortunate to have what I needed to give my parents physically financially. My wife and I were in a much different circumstance than my parents or her parents. My wife's a physician. I'm an attorney. We're doing well. We could offer my parents whatever they needed. So all I needed was to learn what it meant to be a caregiver for someone who didn't have many years to go, and how to do it right, how to understand what was going through my dad's mind. He still wanted to get in that Ford F-150 pickup, but he couldn't. And it wasn't the physical, it was the mental part. It was the spiritual part. How do you help him still feel the dignity and respect of what was a man who was dying? And fortunately, I learned a lot just from my wife, because she and her family have done this so well for so long. She's one of 6 girls in a family of 8 kids. And so what you got to learn is how to love the bride, because it's a different kind of love. It's now the love, as I said, it's almost you're parenting your parent.
It is. And if you have a parent, an unruly child who's willful and wants to do what they want to do, you have to step in. And what I say all the time about my journey with my dad is that, he taught me how to use a spoon. Yeah. So it is literally my pleasure to explain to him, how things move in the world now, because he's forgotten, Yeah. It is the greatest privilege of my life to be his caregiver. I pray I get to do it for another 20 years. Thank you so much, sir. I know you have a lot to do. Thank you for taking this time.
No, thank you. And thank you for what you do.
You can get in touch with the Department of Health and Human Services to share feedback and ideas on their work around caregiving. You can do this by emailing them at hhsiea@hhs.gov. That email address is also included in the show notes for this episode. The Secretary also encouraged listeners to file a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights if an insurance company is denying coverage you're entitled to, like mental health services. You can find more info on this in the show notes. There's more Squeeze with Limonada Premium. Subscribers get exclusive access to bonus content like previously unheard clips from all our voices in this series. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts. Squeezed is a Limonada Media original. I'm your host, Yvette Nicole Brown. Crystal Genesis is our senior producer. Julia Yort, Tess Novotny, and Hannah Boomershine are our producers. Ivan Kurayev is our engineer. Our theme music is by Andy Kristen's Daughter, with additional music by APM Music. Jackie Danziger is our VP of Narrative Content. Executive producers are me, Yvette Nicole Brown, Jessica Cordova Kramer, and Stephanie Whittles-Wax. This show was created in partnership with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, a leading national philanthropy dedicated to taking bold leaps to transform health in our lifetime and pave the way, together, to a future where health is no longer a privilege but a right. Follow Squeezed wherever you get your podcasts, or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.